Good morning. We are live. This is a recovery podcast. It's called Pesci's Recovery Corner. We're a podcast that is geared towards recovery from substance abuse, from alcoholism, from addiction, and we talk with a lot of people that are professionals or have suffered with mental health and overcome many of their issues throughout their life. Today we have a very special guest. Her name is Christina.
Hey,
Welcome back to the corner. We tried to have you on here before, but we had some technical difficulties. So I
I'm
thought we
very
would,
happy to be here.
yeah, to
Very
have
happy
you
to
come
be here.
back. Saturday morning, what
And
we
we'll-
usually do, Christina, is we delve into your past. We want to get to know where you're from, where you were born, where you grew up, what that was like, and we can get into the nitty gritty, the stuff you may have gotten into, things that you did throughout your life, and then what made you come into the path of recovery. So who is you?
Hmm.
Who's Christina?
It's complicated but simple. I will say that again, thank you for having me. I adore you. We've been traveling in these same circles, and now I realize that we are brothers and sisters,
Mhm,
born the same year.
mhm,
Um, and so I was born in Queens, New York,
mhm,
and in in the 70s, and I think that my family, I'm Puerto Rican and Black, at least until I did 23andMe and realized that there's more in me. So I got
really?
more questions, but whatever.
Mhm,
Um, and my mom had 8 sisters. They all lived in a 2-bedroom, 1-bath apartment in the Baisley Park projects. They were in and out of orphanages, and I didn't find that out till later, which explains the lack of mothering skills that my mom had. She did the best she could with what she had, but it was very difficult for her to connect to me and me to her. Um,
mhm,
so, you know, um, growing up, we started moving. My parents joined the Air Force so that they could get out of poverty. It was either post office, military, or something of that nature. And my mom and dad chose the Air Force, and so we started moving around a lot. Both of them had issues with alcohol, and when my father would not get what he needed from my mom, he would come and visit me. When my father would hit on my mom would take it out on me. You know, um, there was a lot of so the family house and dynamic was unsafe. The people that were supposed to protect me didn't. My father also was involved in child pornography, and so um, I didn't have agency over my body. I didn't have it's like I had to figure out how to survive in these circumstances, and growing up, um, my parents finally split when I was 9, and you know how the pain started to surface for me was through I had eating disorder. I had a lot of things. One of the things I did say that I was not gonna do, though, was I was not gonna be like them. Alcoholism, addiction runs heavily through my family, and I was like, "I am not gonna be like these folks because I understand the pain and the problems, that come through with that." And I didn't, um, my ism showed up in eating, my ism showed up in fantasy, my ism showed up in people pleasing. I moved out of my house when I was 15 and a half into a halfway house. Um, and
So when you say a halfway house at 15 and a half, was it like sober living, or was it a place
Yeah,
where
I think it would be equivalent to a sober living, but,
did they
for
have that for 15-year-olds at that age? At
yeah,
that
I
early?
emancipated,
Oh, you
and,
emancipated.
it was kind of, yeah, it was like I would con yeah. So, because I can take care of myself. I don't need
Mhm.
anybody.
Right,
That
right,
was
right.
and I can't even imagine. So I have a 22-year-old. I can't even imagine
Mhm,
that. Like, when I looked at my kid when he was I was like, "How in how did I do that?" You know? So, I finished, high school on my own. Um,
mhm,
I had help getting into college, but there was this longing to belong. There was this feeling of inadequacy, and always having to prove myself that I belonged here in this world, that I belonged next to you, that I just belonged, period.
mhm.
And insert all the different things that happen with brown and black folk. It's been a very difficult and challenging experience, trying to just be. I didn't find drugs and alcohol until much later. In college, that was when I first started to get a different perspective about who my people were, who I was, questioning my sexuality, and I'd become the first. I wanted to sing, but instead I did journalism because my mom was like, "Only spiritual people can do that. You should go do something else." And I listened to her, um, and I became I started journalism and was the first woman of culture to have a job as editor of the newspaper. Now, this is in Arizona. I had moved to Arizona at the time to go to
Mhm.
school at Arizona State. So immediately I was met with "go back to your own effing country," death threats, all kinds of stuff. And I had no coping skills. No one in my family talked about their feelings. I had done a little bit of therapy, but again, there was just no place for me to put these feelings. I knew that I wanted to do something. I knew that I wanted to help people. I knew that I wanted to be a part of a changing world, um, where it was more inclusive, but I didn't have the skills to cope with these feelings and the barrage of hate that was coming my way.
This
Um,
is so interesting to hear this because you're Puerto Rican and black, unless there's some other stuff that's mixed in there since you found out through one of those
yeah,
DNA tests. But I don't understand why they would say go back to your own country unless they're that. Uh,
honey, the things that I've been told, and I'm like, and where exactly would that be? Because the last time I checked, I was born here. Unless New York is its own country, and nobody told me I was born here.
in
You
Utah, they used to tell me. I mean, I grew up with some of these kids, and there was a lot of good people, but there was a select few that just had this way about like a learned behavior. They would tell me, "My granddaddy used to own your granddaddy," and I think to myself, "Didn't we like take these classes together and learn about like how the United States was actually created and where it came from?" And wow, like you really think that way? Like you actually would say that to somebody? But I get it, so I understand. Yeah,
know,
bigotry.
it was really hurtful because it's so the messages that I got, on top of the unsafety in my family and the alcoholism, there's this other layer of, because of the way I look, um, I am defective.
Mhm.
And that was really hard for me to, understand, like, why? Why why is this? And so with that also came internalized racism, internalized misogyny, just I wanted to be anything other than what I was.
Mhm.
And it wasn't until I got sober that I started really um, leaning into um, that I was not defective,
Mhm.
that I was created out of love. So fast forward, I start this social justice movement. We started this movement called Students Against Discrimination. We had one of the largest rallies because there was a lot of, I don't know if you remember higher learning, but
I remember.
it was like that at Arizona State.
Yeah.
Um, and so, all the groups, all the different organizations, Lambda League, the Black Student Union, the Native American Society, like we all got together and said, how do we fix this? How
Mhm.
do we come up with a set of guidelines for teachers, for this school, for students to be able to enter here, feel safe and inclusive? And so we had a rally. It was one of the largest rallies there, and we formulated the intergroup relations center,
Mhm.
and accomplished a lot. And then I promptly graduated college and
Mhm.
promptly started doing drugs and alcohol.
Yeah.
Because again, I had no coping skills. And all of a sudden, I had found weed, and then weed was like, woo, because now I stopped caring.
Why? This is what's interesting. You were an activist, like you were
Yeah.
really trying to be a part of the movement. So why'd you go in that direction? Why'd you stop caring?
Um, because it hurt too much.
Ah.
It hurt too much. And I had found this substance which made it all go away.
Mhm.
So when I am smoking and I'm drinking, it doesn't hurt anymore. Or at
Mhm.
least it's like I put it off.
Yeah.
So
Temporary.
yeah. And when I picked up weed, that was when I crossed the invisible line. Because now I'm like, well, what else is out there? And so I
Mhm.
started using cocaine and ecstasy and and all of those things. You know, it was fun, and then it was not fun.
Mhm.
Then I almost died. I'm surprised that I have brain cells, the
Right.
damage I did, and I got and then I had opportunities in the music business to be an MTV VJ. My career was starting to go like this, and
Mhm.
then in a drunken stupor, I got pregnant because that's what we do. And I was like, wait, 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 hold on a second. So I'm just gonna go have this baby over here, and then I'm gonna go finish my album, and then I'm gonna go on tour, and then everything is gonna be chill. We're great. It's gonna be great. And
Right.
the silence. It was get back to me later, never. And then I had this child with my now partner, and I really wanted to be a better mom than what was given to me.
Mhm.
And for a couple of years, I didn't do anything. I did smoke weed during my pregnancy, which brought me a lot of shame because if I didn't have a problem, then why would I do it?
Right.
Again, this disease is cunning, baffling, and powerful, right? I was like, it's of the earth, so it's okay.
Mhm.
Again, the denial factor is great. Um,
Right.
and then it just being at home, having been almost, my career, not having a career, being at home with my son by myself, not having again the tools to be able to cope with the feelings, the emotions, it got bad. And then my son was in preschool. I was drinking around the clock. I was drinking like a gallon of Captain Morgan's because I want to support my people.
Mhm.
Smoking weed unaddictively every day and doing cocaine to clean, but I never cleaned.
Mhm.
Um, you know, uh, And it got to a place where my partner had guns, and I had taken a gun one night and sat in the side room and thought, I'm going to end this for their sake. No one needs to, I don't need to be here anymore. And I'm just, when I think about where I was and what my life is like today, and if I would have just, if that, for whatever reason, and I think God was there, because there's no reason why that gun shouldn't have went off.
Mhm.
Um, and it didn't. And in a blackout, I had hidden that gun in the kitchen in the pots and pans where my son could have gotten a hold of it.
Mm.
And again, I know that there was something out there looking out for all of us. And so I went to, I finally got some help. I ended up in Cedars for 12 days because I was sick. And then I ended up at the Friendly House where Peggy Albrecht, who is just always be, that woman was incredible. She was a mentor. She was a mother. She was, a gentle kick me in the ass, or do you know what I'm saying? She knew how to talk to me. And my life started to change at the Friendly House
And that was where you got sober. Like, how did you find the friendly house
in a blackout.
in a blackout? You happen to be in LA in the blackout, and somebody somehow got you to the friendly house.
Well, I ended up in like a free clinic or something like that, and
Mhm.
they gave me this paper that had these numbers on it, suicide hotline, da da da, and then there was Friendly House on there, and so I called the suicide hotline first because,
Right.
you know, um, and I got to tell you a quick story. When I called the suicide hotline, this was back in the day, the Verizon operator got on and said that I needed to make a payment in order to keep my phone on. And I was like, hello, I'm on the suicide hotline. And they're like, great. If you make a payment, you can, you can stay on the line.
Mhm.
And they cut my phone off.
Nah.
And I'm like, anyway, obviously, yeah, I ended up at the Friendly House, and it was, again, this was the universe conspiring for me, even though I was not trying to help myself. And and I started working the steps, and I was extraordinarily emotional, angry about my life, because all the things that I talked about previously I'd never really dealt with.
Mhm.
And you know um And so I began the journey to recovery, and it was not easy. Some people have that white light experience. I had cravings for most of the first year. I
Uh-huh.
would I would walk down the liquor aisle and look and see how much the Captain Morgan's was. Oh, it's on sale. Just do stupid. Stupid. And But I did start to feel a sense of hope when I walked into that house. Peggy saw through me. I thought what she was going to see, what she was seeing was my worthlessness, and what she was seeing was my potential.
Mm.
And for the first time, I felt seen. And I think that's what, for me, recovery has been about: being seen, seeing others, seeing myself as a whole person, not defective, not worthless, um, in light and in love. Um, Somebody had said that I was born on purpose, in purpose, for a purpose.
Mm.
And that was Angela Manuel Davis. She's amazing, by the way. And that just resonated so deeply with me. So, I started working in treatment about 10 years ago. Um, and then in the midst of this, my partner, at around 7 years, started to exhibit. real problems. He was a periodic, real problems with drinking. The periods got worse and worse. And I stopped doing what had been working in Alcoholics Anonymous. I stopped talking about what was going on in my home. At 5 years, we had had an agreement: no alcohol, nothing, no drugs in the house ever, for my own sobriety. And at 5 years, he's like, "You've been sober. You should be able to handle it." So he started bringing alcohol into the house again. And I
Mm-hmm.
thought to myself, "Yeah, I should be able to handle it. I've been sober for 5 years. Yeah, I mean, I've got time. I've got time."
Mm-hmm.
Seeing that and just not honoring what was working for me put me in a very bad started to put me in a bad position. At 7 years, his drinking had gotten to the point where, we're having arguments, um, bad ones like we did before I got sober. And I just remember specifically one night, um, being overwhelmed and telling him to pour me a drink. I was like, "You want this life back? Go ahead, pour me a drink. Do it." And I'm in the kitchen, and I don't, again, if he had poured me a drink, I probably wouldn't be here. But I ended up at a meeting. And I'm the type of person that I want your love, but I don't want your love. I want your hugs, but I don't want your hugs. I want intimacy, but I'm terrified of it. So I go to this meeting that I've been going to for years, and I raised my hand. I said, "I'm done. I'm done with this. I'm done with all of it." And that was my way of saying, "Please help me."
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And they took me to Greenblatt's. I got a pastrami sandwich and a cheesecake. And I remembered that this is a we program
Mm.
and that I don't have to do this alone.
Right.
You know, but I can tell you that my spiritual practice, my emotional well being was in a bad place. And I ended up in, so we were driving and he cut this woman off. It was early in the morning. I've been texting my sponsee, "Have a great day." La, 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 la. I'm in the passenger side. He cuts this lady off. She is irate. She starts yelling, um, and then she looks at me and starts calling me names. And I was like, "Oh, hold on a second." Now, mind you, even though I understand it's a we program, I have been I have been absent from my spiritual practice,
Mm.
and which is telling the truth, doing the work in the book, um, and so my ism is highly activated, and I don't know it. And then he looks at me and he's like, "The old you would never have allowed anybody to talk to them like that." And I was like, "Just get me home. I just need to go to work." And so, but it's 8:30 in the morning and it's rush hour traffic. So we make a turn and she's here and I'm here. And then she tells me that she's going to kick my ass. And then she calls me the N word, not once, but twice. And so all I remember is taking off my belt, getting out of my car, and then I just blacked out in rage. And I never want to be in that place again, sober in such a way that I put my hands on somebody,
Mm-hmm.
and we both ended up, she didn't, because whatever, doesn't matter. I've done a lot of work on her. Because I got out of my car, I ended up in jail for a day and a half. We both did, him and I. And that was like a wake-up call for me. So, I got it. And I started going to our sister program, but I started working the program again. When I'm in the middle, when I am active in my program, because this is a program of action, then I have the space. Like, I'm able to clear the space that gets cluttered when I don't do the work. And I get a resentment here, I get a fear here, and then all of a sudden the path to my higher power gets cluttered with all this other stuff. And we've got this inconsistent connection, which allows my alcoholism to just show up and go, what we doing here? Do you
Mhm.
really need to go to this meeting? Do you really need to do this? And all of a sudden, setting me up for a drink.
Mhm.
Um, and so at 9 years, after doing a lot of work, I had filed for divorce. One of the moments that made me want to do that was my son called me one night, and he said, he was so upset because his father had taken away his Xbox and said that he was grounded because he was playing Xbox during a school day, but it was a Saturday. And all of a sudden, I'm here. It was like this flashback of what I dealt with when I was a kid.
Mhm.
I like all of a sudden I'm back as a child, looking to see what my mom was doing, looking to see what my father was doing, feeling unsafe and unsupported. And I just was that was no, I don't want my son to have to go through that.
Mhm.
So I filed for divorce, and he was out of his mind. And I really feared for my life at that time. And so you know, we went away, um, where he couldn't find us. And I will never forget my son, um, when I told him what we were doing, and he was like, "Why can't you fix this? You you can fix anything, you know." And it just broke me, because I couldn't fix it. I don't have any
Mhm.
control over what he does. I do have control over what I do. And I had to tell him, I said, "You in order for us to be healthy, we have to take care of ourselves, and I wanna be the mom that you deserve, and I can't do that in this space under these circumstances." And so, you know, after that, he did get sober, like, a week later. I was so mad. I was so mad. I was like, "Wow, okay, a little
Now,
late
yeah.
now." But I had program in me, and I knew that I didn't have, again, my family, when we get angry, we just cut each other off. We stop
Mhm.
talking. Like, I have family members that don't even know why they're not talking. They just aren't talking because something upset them. Something
Mm.
made them angry, and it's been years. And they're like, "I'll never talk to her again." So that was my modeling for when things get uncomfortable, when things get, when you get angry, you just cut them off.
Right.
And Peggy was instrumental in guiding me through this. My sponsor was guiding me through it. I took all of my frustrations to them. I did a lot of writing and a lot of work so that my son would never have to experience, my mom and dad just went after each other, just character assassinated each other. And I'm looking at myself going, well, if he's worthless and a piece of crap, what does that make me? You know? And so I wanted to make sure that my child had a different experience, and he did. I never said a bad thing about his father. I just said he's sick and he's trying to get well, and allowed them to heal their relationship. And after a year, he made amends to me, and I remember calling my sponsor. I said, "So he wants to make amends." I said, if he doesn't make all the amends that I think he should. Can I say something? She was like, no. It's like, whatever. And then we spent a year in therapy learning how to communicate healthy, working through I don't, like I said, I don't, I did not know how to have a betrayal, have have a heartbreak and heal from that. I didn't know how to do that. Um, so I had to be walked through it. And after a year, we decided to give it a go. And what I can say, what alcoholism destroyed, the 12 steps breathe life back into. He just turned 8. I just turned 17. And we have the life today that we've always wanted, and we've had our ups and downs, but the person that I am today and the person that he is today are the people that we were trying to be, 20 some odd years ago. 25. God. And so when I look at my life today, I started in April of last year. I've been working in, like I said, I've been working in treatment for 10 years. I,
Mhm.
you know, just learning how to run a treatment center. I started as a detox tech, went to supervisor, program director, director of operations, and then last April, Friendly House called and said, "Do you want to do admissions and business development?" And I was like, "Wait a second, come back to the place that gave me my life." Yes,
Yes.
yes. And also, it was right after the pandemic was we were, I think, a year or so into it.
Yes.
I was exhausted. I was burnt out, running a treatment center, and
Before the other treatment center, you mean, right?
yeah, I
Do you
was.
want to talk about that treatment center?
Yeah, I mean, it was an LGBTQ specific treatment center. It was the only way I would have left that place was to go to Friendly House. I
Mhm.
loved everything about what that treatment center stood for. It
Mhm.
gave space um, for underserved and marginalized populations to get recovery.
Mhm.
And I love being a part of that. I also identify as pansexual, and it was a place where I could be free to be who I am and not be judged. And so we did a lot of work, and it was hard. It's hard work. It's
Mhm.
hard. Um, and when the pandemic hit, nobody knew what to do. We had these clients, people were wanting to get help, and all of a sudden this thing was out there and it was deadly. So, I worked with Jolene and Monica at the time, who Jolene was Grace Recovery, and Monica was the executive director of Friendly House. And we would get on the phone going, "How are you guys doing this? How are you guys doing this?" But what happened was, people got sick, and one of our coworkers in her family, like a couple people had died from COVID
Mhm.
after getting it, and it was just so traumatizing, unbelievably traumatizing. And so when this, it's just tiring, to consistently be hyper vigilant about how to protect the people that you love, and that the clients that are coming in that need help. So when this job came about, and all I had to worry about was myself and just
Mhm.
answering phones and talking to families, which I love to do, I was like, yes, absolutely.
Mhm.
Um, and then midway through, um, Monica was like, "So I am, I'm resigning." And I was like, "Hold up, wait a second. What?" And I said, "Well, who is going to take your place?" And she looked at me And she said, you. And I was like, are we? I said, am I being punked? I mean, and the first for me is abject terror because I love Friendly House so much. The thought of I would never want to do anything to, you know, to, to, I just wouldn't want to, I don't want to be in charge and have it not work. Right. So, and then the next thing that came over me was you are ready. All the things that you went through, everything that you have gone through has led you to this moment in purpose, on purpose, for a purpose.
That's
Um,
right.
you
That,
know?
that the initial fear was pushed out of the way because you got that recovery bravery,
Yes.
and what a place to come back to. This is my experience with Friendly House. I went there when Peggy was still alive. Um, Monica was just going to be getting into that position at the time where
Yeah.
she was running the place. I met Peggy. I I was drawn to her immediately. I just thought this is like an old school lady right here that's seen a lot, especially in the recovery world, because she was already like a few decades seasoned, right? When I told her that I work with Earl Hightower, we do interventions. Oh, I know Earl. I knew his sponsor. I knew his sponsor. So I just remember it, I thought to myself, this is kind of a historic moment because you're meeting this person and she looks really old, so you never know how long she'll be around. And she passed away shortly after. But would you tell people where Friendly House is located and what it really is about? Because um, I mean, those that know, but those that don't know and might be in the Los Angeles area should know.
Yeah. So Friendly House was established in 1951. We've been around for 71 years. We were the first women's program ever created. B. Jorgensen had a vision to be able to create a space, a safe space for women who needed to try out at that time because there was none. So
Mhm.
the first one in the country, probably in the world, to be honest with you. And um, so she was there, I believe, until she was there for like 30 years until she passed. And then Peggy came on just for 6 months.
Mhm.
So they found somebody else. Stayed for, I want to say she stayed for 33 years too. So
Mhm.
it's, we've only had 4 executive directors. What they're friendly, it's a 12-bed facility, treatment facility now. We used to be a structured sober living, but we wanted to evolve to meet the diverse needs of female identified non-binary individuals, and so we transitioned into a treatment center. We have a sober living, and the idea of Friendly House is built in community. It is built in recovery, and now we've added a layer of evidence-based treatment because we were outsourcing. When I got sober there, we were outsourcing everything.
Right.
Go to Saban Clinic to get some medication if you need it, to see the doctor, and this, that, and the other. Now we have all those resources there.
Mhm.
And when
It's a
I
nonprofit, correct?
it's a nonprofit.
Mhm.
So we're able to provide value-based, culturally competent care. Because listen, as a woman of culture, and somebody that's been in this treatment world, I don't get to see a lot of us. And when we do go places, really have to understand that there is many of us don't stay long because we don't see representation, and that there isn't enough training to be competent enough to deal with the different cultural aspects of all of us. So I made it my mission to for Friendly House. I mean, we work with women from all walks of life,
Mhm.
but my mission is to help address the racial inequities and the health disparities in the BIPOC and in the LGBTQ communities, and that we are culturally competent enough so that when somebody comes in, first there's representation. Our curriculum is reflective of the unique needs, and we are and continue to be leaders in treatment for for women.
Mm. Love it. I think they have the perfect executive director.
Yes, and you know, it has been such a joy,
Mhm.
um, and it feels full circle when I look at the women that I work with, to be able to provide mentorship and transparency, and be able to develop these women so that um, wherever they go, they have a strong foundation, able to use their voice, able to understand their value, able to negotiate and navigate, because this treatment world is very male driven.
Mm. You're
I
right.
I don't know if you noticed it.
Oh, I noticed it. Hmm.
And it's not really set up for us to it's not really set up for us. So we have to make our own way. And part of my mission also is to mentor other women and to provide experience, within our group, so that again we can continue to grow and expand. Because in terms of leadership, there needs to be more of us out there in leadership positions. That is where the change really starts to happen. So cultivating a group of women that you know, could get into leadership positions is also something that I'm very passionate about.
Love it. We have a lady that posted on here. I'm exactly where you were when you were earlier talking about your story. I think about ending the pain. So, Jacqueline, if you would like to message either Christina or I, we would love to be able to talk to you. We're here for you, just so you know. There's a few other people. Curtis says, "Love you both."
Oh, hey, Curtis.
Ariane says, "You're beautiful."
Oh,
Guy gives a heart, and RJ says, "Love you, Christina."
oh, I'm so yeah. And you know what I can say, like I've had people in my life take their own lives, and I know what it did for me at that time. And but when I was in that pain, I thought that was the way out. And I'm so grateful because that I didn't do that, um, that I got help. And suicide is my default. I don't
Mhm.
want to drink anymore. I just want to die. I just
Right.
want you to just take me out of my misery. And so I've really had to get some outside help and be able to look at that, because had I done that, my son wouldn't be where he is. I wouldn't be where I'm at. I wouldn't have experienced the joy and the love and the peace and the purpose that I do now.
Hmm.
You know,
You have an event coming up for Friendly House. Do you want to talk about that real quick?
I do. It's our first annual comedy fundraiser. Listen, we need to laugh because the stuff that's happening right now is not funny, and it's been extraordinarily difficult. And I do want to just say, listen, for those that are for those women out there that are struggling with trying to figure out how to handle all of these assaults on our independence, and there are ways for us to come together and coordinate and be strategic about supporting those that support us. It can be a highly charged emotional issue, and all I can say is that we have to take care of ourselves and we have to stick together. And so this comedy fundraiser that's happening Saturday, July 16th at the Fonda Theater is going to be hosted by Rosie O'Donnell, who's also very vocal about things, and I love that.
Mhm.
And headlined by Kathy Griffin and Gina Yashir is going to be a special guest. Beth Lapidus and Atsuko. I don't want to. Her last name is one of those names that I don't want to even. Great comedians, and it's
Mhm.
all the money is going to go towards Friendly House.
Mhm.
And this, this, when we do these fundraisers, we're able to scholarship, and that's why we're able to provide affordable care as a nonprofit. All I need to do is pay my bills,
Mhm. Mhm.
and and then make sure that women who don't have resources are able to benefit from our program. And it's from these fundraisers that we're able to do that. So if you do want to get tickets, it is coming up. You can go to our website, www.friendlyhousela.org, and you can buy directly from our website. If you aren't able to go, but you still want to donate a ticket, we can give it to our alumni and our residents. And you can also email myself. Should I put my email in the chat? I don't know how this works.
Do
Or
you?
just put info@friendlyhousela.org too. You can be like, here's some tickets. Or you could just donate.
Later on, if you want, you can go into the chat, unless you can see it right now, and you can put it
Okay.
there too. It's up to you.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, this event sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun. I love the Friendly House
Great.
events in the past that I've been to. They're always happening. They're always good. It's good for a good cause. Um, I really, like I've known you for years, and uh, just your vibe is so contagious. Like, just you're a good woman, and you're known to be a good woman in recovery that helps so many people. And I love the fact that you're back at Friendly House, and
Me
just
too.
just the lady that you are. So it's been such a pleasure to have you on here today
Thank
on this Saturday morning, and to hear about your journey and your recovery and who you are. Thank you
you.
for being on the corner. Love
Thank
you very much.
thank you. We are
Have
miracles.
have a good day.
All
Bye.
right. You have
Bye.